I thought I'd talk about video games today, given a lot of this video is us playing one. My husband got me this game for my birthday, or for Christmas last year, I can't quite remember which, but I really like it. It's called Unravel 2, I think meaning it's like the two-player option, or it's got a two-player option, which I like because it means that we can play it together. But basically you're like this humanoid ball of wool or yarn. I'm not really sure what the difference between wool and yarn is, maybe one's the American word, I'm not sure, but you can see them on the screen. And you kind of have this like excess strand of wool, and in the two-player version it like gets connected together at the start, and then you have to kind of try and swing from things and hoist yourselves up and pull each other, and work out kind of how to get through the different chapters of this world. And it also has like really nice natural scenery, which I love. The graphics are so good, which you can see, and it has some chill music in the background, and there's no time limit, and I just really like all of those features. I mean, I also really like Super Smash Bros, which is like the complete opposite of that. But you know, sometimes like you want something that's chill and relaxing as well. And I guess that's kind of where I want to jump into this. So personally, I don't actually play video games that much. I used to play more, like when I was a kid, I used to play them with my 4 younger sisters. And during university, I played with my friends. Although with my sisters, I liked that generally I could win most of the time. And that achievement motivation mostly went away when I played with my friends at university. But now I tend to play more during school holidays because I work at a school, and so still then not really that much. But loads of my students at secondary school play video games, like a lot. And I started to notice that the things that some of my autistic students said about why they play video games was different to what some of my non-autistic students said about them. So because I was also studying a psychology course at the time, and actually I think I might have still been thinking about what I wanted to do for my dissertation at that time. So I started looking up kind of some research into this area, and I found some things that like matched my own experience and also seemed to match parts of what my students had shared with me. So I thought I'd share some of that here. I'm speaking too fast, I'm getting out of breath. Yeah, I'm going to calm down. So the main thing I found, or the main thing I found interesting, was that high levels of autistic traits, which was measured by the AQ. If you're not sure what the AQ is, I'll put a link in the description below. But high levels of autistic traits measured by the AQ in females were associated with more time spent on video games. There was also an increase in males, but it wasn't statistically significant, which may have been to do with the design of the study. So it's not particularly making any difference, but that was the group that showed this increase in time spent on video games. And they reported more motivation to play video games because of stress relief, because of fantasy and like an escape from reality, and also because of customization. And this was a finding from a paper by Yang et al. In 2022, so a really recent paper. I think it was from February. And again, with all the papers that I mentioned here, I'll put a link in the description as well. So for myself, particularly that fantasy element and the customization are really big motivations for me in games. So even like this game that I'm playing now, there's like really nice color customization options for your little character. There were even 2 kinds of red, which like I was like debating between these kinds of red for a while, and also some minimal head shape options as well. And I went straight to that area when we first tried out the game because I love customizing my character. My husband also wanted me to get into Pokemon Unite recently, and I did all the tutorials and we played a couple of games, and it was really fun. And then I was like, okay, now leave me for an hour because I'm about to customize my character. I love doing that. And I also love that like fantasy, like things that just don't happen in real life. And I read in another paper by Mazarek et al. In 2015 that one aspect of video games that may particularly appeal to autistic individuals is that they provide a well-defined structure and framework while simultaneously offering players imaginative experiences. And so what that means is like, for me, I can experience fantasy and really cool imaginative experiences without the need to generate them myself, to self-generate this imaginative experience, which is a skill that some researchers have found that autistic people often struggle with. So for example, Gerald et al. In 1993. And like, I kind of remember this as a kid, like I loved imaginative play. And playing games that had imaginative elements, but only when my sister, who's the next one after me, would come up with the storyline and kind of narrate the play as we went through. I loved that because I could be part of the imaginative play experience, but there was a structure and a safety in following what she came up with. And that's kind of the same in video games as well. Like, it comes up with the structure for you. You don't have to worry about that, but you still get to be involved in that imaginative experience. When I talked about video games with my students, stress relief was actually maybe the biggest part of why they said they played video games. It seemed to kind of often become a much needed, at least in their minds, a much needed socially acceptable thing to get really into and then know exactly what to expect from that controlled environment. Autistic adolescents and young adults have been found to find social interactions really overstimulating and also anxiety-provoking, like in a study by Bellini in 2006. So actually finding something that can be done with others, whether that's siblings or housemates or partners or online friends, and also something that can be an accepted topic of conversation that others don't think is weird when you go talk about it in school afterwards or wherever. So it allows social interactions in less anxious ways. And finding ways to manage and reduce our anxiety so that we can actually like get on with the stuff we want to do is really important for like everything in life. I think we really need to think more about ways that we're managing anxiety and making sure it's not taking over and distracting us from all the things that we want to do. So to sum up, I guess, for me, games like this allow me a creative space that I can customize things and I can use my imagination in a structured way that I find easier and therefore more enjoyable. And I think those things contribute to stress relief as well. But for my autistic students, like stress relief is the big thing that they find and why they really like to play video games, having something structured enough and which plays to autistic people's strengths even. For example, with like better visual identification and recognition skills. So it kind of gives an opportunity for them to be successful at something and to get those rewards from achieving and succeeding. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about kind of my students, also my own experience with video games, and some studies about video games. But like, what do you think? What are your favourite kinds of games and why do you play them? Maybe let me know on social media or in the comments below.